What's going on, everybody? This is BroncoJuggalo, and welcome to Day 5 of Wild Eye Week. We got 2 more days to go, guys. And tonight, I am also going to be participating in the final Blood Spattered Trio live stream. So join us for that over on Sean Urshan's channel. Today, I am discussing the 2016 film in the UK, I believe. The IMDb may have got it wrong. And the 2017 film in the U.S., Predator World. Directed by Jeff Leroy and starring Tasha Takosa as Lana Vickers. The surviving crew from the crashed spaceship Titan crash lands on a planet that is inhabited by alien hunters. Or at least that's pretty much the synopsis from the back of the DVD. What really happens is that a meteor hits the ship, destroys the ship practically, and a group of survivors escapes an escape pod and they fall to a planet. Little pieces of the meteor have attached themselves to the escape pod. What they don't know is that inside the meteor are life forms that are parasitic, life forms that are don't have the best of intentions, and there is a brain and there is a bunch of others. Basically, think of it as like a insect hive. These parasites start taking over the bodies of the survivors. It turns them and mutates them into big, grotesque aliens, and we have a fight going on here between the remaining humans and the aliens. This is a movie that I was really looking forward to seeing. I heard some good reviews on it. I've heard that this was the movie the Predator should have been. I've heard a lot of different things. But all of the things I've heard have been pretty positive, and they made me really want to see this movie. So let's just say I've really been looking forward to it. But I do have some things that I need to go over here. First thing I want to talk about. Okay, I love Wild Eye and I love their cover arts. Wild Eye cover arts are just about the best. They do such a great job on all their cover arts. They're so amazing, so well done, and they look really good. Even on bad movies, they look really good. However, this particular cover art, as good as it is extremely misleading. This alien is nowhere in the film. It doesn't show up. These people with the cool weapons and the awesome suits, nowhere in the film at all. What the aliens really look like is more like this right here, if you can see that. I'm not sure. I'll try to find a steal and put it up. But honestly, as good as this cover is, the cover really excited me. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if... Well, I don't want to say the movie didn't live up to the hype. Or didn't live up to the cover. I just was a little disappointed that this particular creature wasn't anywhere in the film. Now, over in the UK, this was released under the title Alien vs. College Girls, which I really don't get, because unless there was something going on that I didn't know about, there were no college girls in this. There's girls, but they didn't say anything about them being in college, so I didn't get that particular title. It's also known as Predator Planet, Alien Rain, and Alien vs. Titan. So this movie was released under about 4 different titles, and it even has poster art for 4 different titles. Jumping right into pros and cons, guys, I want to start talking about this because there's some good things with this movie and there's some bad things with this movie. Overall, I honestly have to say that this movie disappointed me a little bit. But it's not that it was a bad film. It's just I guess I had high expectations for this film. And it didn't quite live up to those expectations. And I'm going to get into the reasons why here in a minute. But let's start with the pros. Let's start with some of the things I did really like about this movie. This is going to sound really weird, but I really enjoyed the mini Stonehenge. Now, I'm not sure why, but as the characters are exploring this planet and they're walking around, there is a miniature of what looks like Stonehenge just out for no reason. And for some reason, that just struck me as funny, and I like that. Now, I know that's a really dumb thing to bring up, but it just struck me as funny, and I liked it. I really liked the alien costume in this. this is a movie that really throws it back to rubber-suited aliens, somebody in a costume, and I really enjoy that. It's something we don't get in this world of CGI that we live in today. Now, that being said, there's a lot of CGI in this movie. In fact, 90% of it is CGI. And we're going to get into that here in a minute, but let me just concentrate on this first. Even though this alien is not in the movie, the aliens we did get were pretty cool looking. They were obviously foam rubber latex suits. And it really reminded me of something out of Gore. And I'm a big Gore fan. And if you don't know who Gore is, they're a heavy metal band that dresses in big giant costumes. And they have theatrics and stage shows. And that's what this movie reminded me of. Including the alien's big giant member, if you know what I mean. It all reminded me of something out of Gore. If you've ever seen, what's it called? Skullhead Face? You'll know what I mean. Or Phallus in Wonderland. You'll know what I mean. Check those out if you haven't, by the way. If you're into gore, or even if you're just into really funny, weird, fucked up shit, check those out. My next pro is the gore. And while there isn't an overabundance of gore, what there is done really well. Now, there is one point where we see the body after it's all gone. And the head that is, minor spoiler here, there's a head that gets crushed. It does look like a fake head, but all the rest of it is really good. I really enjoyed the gore. Very bloody, good graphics as far as that goes. Now, there is a little bit of CGI gore that I didn't get into, but most of the practical stuff looks really good. Most of it. There was one scene where alien parasites come out of this girl's boobs, and that didn't look very good. You could tell that it was, clay or putty or whatever the fuck they make them out of. This next pro is going to sound really weird, but I just found it fucking hilarious. And that is the alien-human sex scene. It was really, really funny. Now, I have some other things to say about the sex in this movie, and we're going to wait for that. I'll get to that in a minute. But for some reason, that scene just struck me as hilarious, and I laughed my ass off through the whole thing. So, it's a pro. It made me laugh. My final pro is that there are a lot of tributes and salutes to other films, especially in the dialogue. We have our main character, Lana, saying things like, I am so tired of these motherfucking... What did she say? Motherfucking aliens on this motherfucking planet. Something like that, and that's obviously a tribute to Snakes on a Plane. We had other ones where, like, one of the guys says groovy after he's testing out weapons, even though their weapons are sticks. And I was like, okay, but he's like groovy, and they zoom in on his face, kind of like they did with Evil Dead and in Army of Darkness with Ash. So there were salutes and tributes to other films in the dialogue, and I thought that was kind of cool. Now, getting on to the cons, I'm going to start with my smallest con first, because this is a real nitpicky thing. Okay, at the beginning of the film, when we see the ship flying through space, of course, it's, computer graphics, and it's not great computer graphics. It's not on this, the level of, say, Star Trek or Star Wars or anything like that. But it's very, kind of cheap computer graphics. And then the interior of the ship is all green screen backgrounds. The doors opening, the stuff on the walls. It's all green screen. As I mentioned in the League of Superheroes review, I just don't like that. But that's not what bothered me in this particular film. What bothered me in this particular film is we have all this green screen background. And then there's one scene where there's just like, okay, all this green screen background looks like, futuristic ship-looking stuff, spaceship-looking stuff. And then there's just this one cheap-looking wooden door like you would see in anybody's house. Like the door to their bathroom, you know what I mean? And I'm just sitting there thinking like, that looks really out of place. It's a wooden door that opens, you can see the hinges, everything. In fact, it looks like the exact same door that's on my kids' bedroom. I'm not saying I have a cheap house, but I'm just saying it looks like that door. Yeah, I wasn't impressed with that. I thought that was really weird and just really looked out of place. Very small con, I know, very nitpicky on a low budget film, but come on, if you're going to do all this, green screen, at least go with it and stick with it. My next con is, okay, because they were on an alien planet and they wanted to show that they were on an alien planet and not just somebody's backyard while they were doing the filming, all of the scene, like the entire rest of the movie, from the time they hit the planet on, everything outside the shuttle pod is wavy and kind of distorted. And it's not just bad camera work. I believe what they were going for is they were trying to show that it was an alien environment. So everything we see, the tall grass, the mountains, the trees, even the people, it's kind of wavy and kind of, I don't know, just kind of weird. And I really didn't like that. And honestly, it was starting to bug my eyes a little bit. Now, as I said, they use rubber suits for the aliens in this film. And then they also use puppets that they made for some of the smaller aliens. And I really liked all that. I thought it was really cool. It wasn't that it was the best looking, greatest thing of all time. It wasn't Star Wars, level Jim Henson puppets, things like that. But at least it showed that they were putting effort into it, and it looked really good, and it was really fun, and I was really enjoying that part. But then, like, the teeny tiny aliens, when they first appear in their parasitic forms and they're trying to take over humans and things like that, and when they're doing this whole training motif, which I thought was pretty funny, it's all CGI, and it doesn't look good at all. There's a point where the alien's supposed to be going into the person, and it's under his skin, but it definitely looks like all you can see is a shadow, and what it looks like is somebody's shining a light on the person's skin, and they're holding a fake alien in front of it. And it just looked really bad, and I didn't like that at all. They did all these cool puppet works. They did the good rubber suits. Why couldn't they just do little fake aliens and put them through, even if they had to do it stop motion? I just didn't get why they did that, but they did, so it is what it is. But it kind of pulled me out of it a little bit. Now, there are some parts that are funny with these CGI aliens, but I could contribute that it could have been funny if they would have done it with puppets. You know what I mean? My biggest con in this film, and this is why I say the film kind of disappointed me. I was really, really looking forward to this movie. I heard so many good things about it, and I still feel like this film had such potential. It could have been great, even with green screen environments, bad CGI, all that. This film could have been great for its budget. There is a scene where one of the characters outlines the entire plot of what's going on with the aliens, their backstory, their world, why they're doing this, everything. And it's really good. And I was like, man, that is a really good story. That is really cool. I really like that. But I really, really, really felt that story was held back. Maybe a little bit by the budget, but I don't want to put it all on that, because you can do greatness with low budget. You can do great story with low budget. Honestly, I think the biggest reason that story was held back, what kept this movie from being great, is the director and the writer's obsession with weird sex. And just sex overall in general. They tried to put so much sexual innuendo and so much sexual situations and nude women and more sex into this film that it actually held the movie back, in my opinion. Maybe they should have taken some of the time they used to film and the money they used to film all those sex scenes and put it into the story, and we would have gotten a much better film. Now, I'm not saying this film is bad. It was somewhat enjoyable. I did have a little bit of fun with it. But I guess compared to where my expectations were, it brought down quite a bit for me. If I had to give this a rating out of 10, I would probably give it a 5. Where I was hoping to give it like an 8 or a 9. But I would probably give it a 5. Just because I really feel like this movie did not live up to the potential it had. But that is it, guys. That is it for my thoughts on Predator World. If you like that kind of movie, if you like rubber-suited alien films, check this out. That's really cool. They did a good job there. If you like movies that just have a lot of sex and nudity, basically for no other reason that I can think of than to have it, check it out too. But honestly, I felt that it was just very held back, and I felt that it didn't live up to its potential. So yeah, I would have to give it a very, like, it's just kind of a mediocre film. But I definitely want to thank Wild Eye for sending it to me. I'm sorry that I didn't give this one a glowing review like I've given some of the other ones this week. But I will be honest, and this is just not a film that I enjoyed very much. I did have fun with it, but I was still very disappointed. Anyways, this is BroncoJuggalo saying we got 2 more days to go, guys, and I got 2 more films to go. This is BroncoJuggalo saying, please join us tonight for the last episode of the Blood Spatter Trio over on Sean Urshan's channel. Myself, Hellhound, and Sean Urshan, we make up the Blood Spatter Trio. Thank you very much for joining me. This is BroncoJuggalo saying, peace.
Hey, you